Viva DA, viva!
The ANC is set to drop below 50% nationally for the first time. This sets the stage for a coalition government.
The EFF have secured 12% of the vote and remain the third largest party in parliament. They are now well positioned to become kingmakers in determining the next government.
In the Western Cape, the DA have maintained their provincial majority. Western Cape Premier Alan Winde said the devolution of power would be the key focus of his government.
The Secretary-General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, assures ANC voters that the party will continue to govern and plans to form a coalition with the EFF.
ANC from the voters are saying to us, we still trust you that you can do better. But at the same time, we are not giving you a decisive victory.
Cyril Ramaphosa was today sworn in as president, with Julius Malema being sworn in as his deputy. The ceremony was delayed for nearly an hour as jubilant EFF members brought Parliament to a standstill.
Advocate Dali Mpofu has been appointed to the Constitutional Court of South Africa, leading to warnings from critics that this development signifies another step towards transforming the court into an institution focused on promoting ideology rather than the rule of law. In other news,
widespread blackouts were reported across Cape Town last night. It has been blamed on the vandalization of several electrical substations throughout the city. The city has estimated that it will take at least 1 week to restore power to the affected areas.
Our first priority is protecting you, the residents. We will need to be prepared to stay the course, and we are prepared to do so.
in an unexpected late-night political maneuver, the ANC has recalled President Ramaphosa. Several senior cabinet members have resigned in protest. Paul Mashatile has assumed the presidency.
A spokesperson for the government has announced today that the Reserve Bank will be nationalized in order to more effectively align monetary policy with the National Democratic Revolution.
South Africa's privately owned farmland is set to be nationalized, with 99-year leases being introduced in addition to new racial quotas for land redistribution.
I own my minerals, I own everything that belongs to this continent. Enough is enough.
Premier Alan Winde has formally requested more autonomy for the Western Cape to address what he sees as a dire crisis of crime.
If you sound like one of those tourists on the Titanic when someone knocked on your door and said, please get out of your room, get into a lifeboat, this Titanic is sinking, and you pulled out the brochure and you say, but this ship can't sink, I'll stay in my room, and so you just drowned along with that ship as it sank.
Minister of Police Bheki Cele responded by saying that the national government has no intention whatsoever to devolve policing powers, which is a national constitutional competency.
Inflation has reached a record high in South Africa, breaking through the 100% mark to reach 112% per annum. The Reserve Bank announced these figures at the late-night press conference last night. The news resulted in a 12% drop in the value of the JSE when it opened this morning. In response, the government has suspended trading until further notice.
South Africa has officially become a failed state. This is according to the Fragile States Index. The decision was made on account of multiple crises facing the country. These include unemployment of more than 50%, negative economic growth, massive capital flight, the collapse of law and order in major cities, and electricity blackouts lasting 12 hours or more a day.
History is calling on you to play your part in rescuing South Africa. It's time to stop the decay and choose a better future for our children and grandchildren. Let's choose a growing economy for jobs and safe communities.
The 2024 election results are now officially in, and they are significant. For the first time in South Africa's democratic era, the ANC no longer have a majority. In the Western Cape, the DA have also lost their outright majority, securing 47.2% of the vote.
The DA has officially announced that it will form a coalition government with the Referendum Party in the Western Cape. The DA have agreed to call a referendum on Cape independence within 12 months, and the Referendum Party have agreed to support the DA's program in government.
We will make sure that the DA government listens to Western Cape voters on Cape independence.
After announcing the referendum several months ago, the decisive day has finally arrived. Over the past few weeks, support for independence has surged dramatically, fueled by the deteriorating situation in South Africa. The leaders of both the Leave and Remain campaigns have delivered impassioned speeches to their voters on this final day.
The DA will never turn our back on the rest of the people of South Africa. We care just as much for you as we care about the people in the Western Cape.
The DA is never going to govern the rest of South Africa. They may say, we can do a better job, we can save all of South Africa, but South Africa doesn't want to be saved by the DA. It's made it very, very clear.
The Western Cape has voted for independence. The results were officially announced by the IEC at 10 o'clock this morning. 58% voted to leave, 42% to remain. Western Cape Premier Alan Winde said he would accept the outcome, which was clearly the democratic will of the Western Cape people.
Because we listen and we revert. That is this Western Cape that we need to build for the future. Every single one of us have a responsibility in doing so.
He announced that he would immediately begin negotiations with the South African government to give effect to the vote.
Vigilante organizations and EFF members attempted to disrupt the proceedings, but were promptly repelled by the Cape Town police force.
At a joint press conference on Thursday, President Ramaphosa and Premier Winde announced that they would be entering into negotiations to reach an agreement that would result in an independent Western Cape. The announcement comes after weeks of international pressure on the South African government to respect the result of the province's independence vote held last month.
But we are going to win, and look, we're a long way down the road. We've already made mayhem politically here, and we're only just getting started.
Independence negotiations have reached a positive conclusion. 22 months after negotiation began, the governments of Western Cape and South Africa have signed a petition paving the way for the formation of Africa's newest country, the Cape of Good Hope.
Dit is die oggend en die eerste dag in die Kaap die Goeie Hoop. Waag om te droom is die lese van die nuwe republiek terwyl 'n gevoel van optimisme deur die nasie sweef.
The Cape Democratic Alliance have won the Cape of Good Hope's inaugural elections, securing 61% of the vote. The party has announced that its immediate priorities in government will be to establish a vibrant, high-growth economic environment, which will encourage investment, create employment, to impose law and order, to end race-based policy once and for all, and to improve international relations.
The announcement was celebrated throughout the Cape, the Western Cape government announcing a public holiday to commemorate the historic occasion.
It is the homecoming revolution. Thousands of South African expats across the world are returning to the Cape of Good Hope.
Emotional scenes as friends and family are reunited.
I'm doing this for my children and I'm doing this for my grandchildren, and that's the biggest thing a granny can do.
How are you going to keep all the people out? Everybody is going to want to go there. Well, doesn't that sound like exactly the sort of country we should be creating?
The Cape of Good Hope has been hailed as Africa's first world country. Improvements in education, health, transport and safety have seen its human development ranking rise rapidly.
This comes after latest figures from CapeStats found that annual economic growth had risen to 11%.
Symbolic of its success, the final shack in the Cape has been demolished.
In response to the announcement, the Cape president stated, 15 years ago, the Cape was at a crossroads. Many people tried to tell us that independence was not possible, but the Cape people believed in themselves, and the rest is now history.